Right, so Keir Starmer marched into Downing Street on the promise of integrity, honesty, and accountability. A sick joke, considering the Mandelson mess he's now put himself in. But an even bigger scandal than that is going almost totally unreported, and it's ready to blow. Because what he has also delivered is a money trail that can be traced with a ruler from the ruins of Gaza and the money made from the weapons of its destruction straight to the carpeted corridors of Labour HQ. In Starmer's world, MPs and councillors are suspended for tweets seen as too pro-Palestine. Yet his own General Secretary's household wealth, his appointment, control freak that he is topped up by lobbying for a company owned by Israel's biggest bomb maker. Starmer's party disciplinarian-in-chief is a beneficiary of the very arsenals being used to flatten Gaza. That is not just hypocrisy, it is the kind of grotesque contradiction that makes rules are rules sound like a sick joke. The disciplinarian-in-chief is married to a man profiting from Israeli arms sales, and we are told to look the other way while Labour preaches morality to us. This story, more than the Mandelson one in my view, blows Starmer's fake integrity to pieces, and if that story brings into question his political survival, this one really ought to put it beyond doubt. Right, so in the ruins of Gaza, as Israeli bombs tear through homes and hospitals, the weapons industry counts its profits. Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, Israel's state-owned arms giant, supplies the missiles, the drones and the tank armour used daily in this devastation. Its products are sold to the world as defensive systems, battle-tested, whilst they flatten neighbourhoods and leave children buried under rubble. That's the kind of battle they're tested on. Few outside the defence world realise that the financial echo of those bombs reaches straight into British politics, though, not only through contracts or exports, but directly into the household of Labour's own General Secretary, as it would appear. Keir Starmer promised a Labour Party and a Labour government rooted in integrity and human rights. He punishes MPs and councillors for daring to say Gaza is a genocide. Yet his top officials' family wealth is tied to lobbying for a company owned by the very arms manufacturer supplying Israel's war machine. This money trail is as direct as it is damning, from Israel's bombs to Rafael, from Rafael to its UK subsidiary Pearson Engineering, from Pearson to the lobbyists at Enacta UK, and from Enacta into the bank account of its managing director and shareholder, Teddy Ryan, husband of Labour's General Secretary, Holly Ridley. The scandal is more than hypocrisy. It's a collapse of credibility so complete it shatters Starmer's claims to integrity completely. The only question is whether he dares confront his own inner circle, or whether this scandal will detonate in his face as the Mandelson one has just done. The trail begins with Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, one of Israel's largest and most powerful arms manufacturers. Rafael is not a private company competing on the open market. It is wholly owned by the Israeli state. Its profits entwined with government budgets and military policy. Its catalogue reads like a list of the weapons hammering Gaza and southern Lebanon and southern Syria and beyond. Spike missiles, Iron Dome batteries, trophy tank defence systems, and armour plating for the Merkava tanks that flatten Palestinian neighbourhoods. Every missile fired translates into profit for Rafael. Pearson Engineering is based in Newcastle and is a wholly owned subsidiary of Rafael. On the surface, Pearson is a British firm producing armoured vehicle attachments, mine clearance devices and other specialised engineering equipment. But in reality, Pearson is part of Israel's war economy. Its ownership by Israel's finance ministry makes it an outpost of the Israeli state. Its ultimate boss, therefore, is Bezalel Smotrich. Its profits are not reinvested in British industry, but flow back to Israel. Pearson has hired lobbying firms to smooth its path in the UK, therefore. This is all damaging stuff, of course, in and of itself. But one such firm here is Enacta UK, a lobbying consultancy. Enacta's job is to burnish Pearson's image, cultivate political access, and keep contracts flowing, regardless of who Pearson's parent company is bombing overseas. Lobbying is about more than speeches and briefing papers. It is about credibility and relationships and access. Enacta UK is run by Teddy Ryan. Ryan spent more than 14 years inside the Labour Party working as an organiser, campaign director and a strategist. He knows the party's machinery intimately, therefore. He now sells that insider knowledge to clients. He's not only Enacta's managing director, though, but he is also a shareholder. And that means when Pearson pays Enacta, Ryan's personal wealth increases. His financial interest is not indirect, it is immediate. Ryan's wife is Holly Ridley. In 2024, Starmer's allies rushed her appointment through the National Executive Committee, presenting her as the only candidate, Starmer's chosen candidate. We know how he has rigged selections in the party by now, do we not? Only his sort will ever do, and she is 100% Starmer acolyte by all accounts. Ridley has been Labour's Executive Director for Nations and Regions, overseeing field operations in the 2024 general election. Her loyalty to Starmer, and of course to his strategist, Morgan McSweeney, because that's a requirement too, is it not, secured her promotion to General Secretary. She is now, therefore, the enforcer-in-chief within the Labour Party, overseeing compliance, candidate selection, and above all, party discipline. So here's the situation we have then. Raphael profits from Israel's war machine. Pearson profits as Raphael's UK subsidiary. Pearson pays an actor for lobbying. An actor pays dividends to its shareholder Terry Ryan, and Ryan's household income supports Ridley. It's a household income, isn't it? Labour's General Secretary as she is. From bombs falling onto Gaza to cheques cashed in Labour HQ, the money trail is complete. The scandal is amplified by Ridley's role, though. The General Secretary is not a ceremonial official. They are the guardians of Labour's internal rules. She signs off on suspensions and expulsions. She determines what brings the party into disrepute. In recent years, those rules have been weaponized against members who express solidarity with Palestine. Andy MacDonald was suspended back in 2023 for saying Palestinians deserve freedom from the river to the sea. Keir Starmer lost the whip last year for referring to Gaza as a genocide. Local councillors have been disciplined for tweets or Facebook posts criticising Israel. In all these cases, the justification has been the same. Their words brought Labour into disrepute. And yet when it comes to the General Secretary's own household, the rules vanish. They don't seem to apply. Ridley, whose family wealth is tied to lobbying for a company owned by Israel's arms industry, faces no sanction herself. There is no suspension, no investigation, not even disclosure. The hypocrisy is staggering. Members are purged for conscience-driven speech, while the leadership's most senior figure is shielded from scrutiny despite a glaring conflict of interest. If not for the excellent investigative journalism of Declassified UK, we would still know nothing of this. This, therefore, raises a deeper question. Who disciplines the disciplinarian in the Labour Party, then? If the enforcer themselves can be seen to be compromised, or is compromised, the system has no mechanism for accountability at all. Unlike MPs, the General Secretary is not bound by a register of financial interests. Unlike ministers, she's not covered by the ministerial code. Labour has no independent oversight body for its officials. In practice, Ridley is accountable only to Starmer. Rules, it turns out, are for the underlings, but because it comes down to Starmer here, and Starmer alone, not acting on this hangs him out to dry personally, doesn't it? Britain's standards in public life are not ambiguous. The ministerial code requires ministers to declare their own financial interests and those of their spouses and close family. The Civil Service Code obliges officials to declare outside interests and manage potential conflicts. Guidance for civil servants makes clear that even the perception of conflict undermines trust. MPs must register the financial interests of their families in the register of members' interests. All these rules are built, of course, on the Nolan principles: selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. Integrity demands that officials avoid obligations to outside interests. Openness and honesty demand transparency in declaring private interests. By these standards, the Ridley-Ryan case is indefensible. The perception alone is corrosive. When the household of Labour's General Secretary profits from lobbying on behalf of Israel's arms industry, all as Labour avoids over and over the censure measures demanded by Israeli actions in Palestine, it destroys trust. That is why the Nolan principles are explicit. Perception matters as much as reality. Integrity is not only about avoiding corruption, but about avoiding situations that look like corruption. Yet instead of disclosure or recusal, Labour has opted for silence. The result is that the party's leadership has shattered the very principles it claimed to uphold. Starmer promised honesty. His leadership delivers opacity. He promised accountability. His inner circle seems to enjoy absolute impunity. He promised integrity. His General Secretary's household wealth is tied to bombs raining on Gaza. The scandal becomes still more toxic when you place it in further context. Back in November of 2023, Labour refused to support a parliamentary motion for an arms embargo on Israel. This was despite overwhelming evidence of war crimes and despite the International Court of Justice ruling that Israel was plausibly committing genocide. Spain, Belgium and Canada acted. Labour refused. Now in government, they're just as bad. The Mandelson affair has, of course, exposed the same sort of rot. Starmer brought Peter Mandelson into his inner circle despite those ties to Jeffrey Epstein. When that scandal erupted, it humiliated Labour and exposed Starmer's arrogance. The Ridley case repeats this pattern again, but is arguably so much worse and far more damaging, and the mainstream media's silence over it appears to bear that notion out, because again, as I mentioned before, we're down to independent investigative journalism here, Declassified UK, that excellent resource. Insiders are indulged until the scandal detonates. Outsiders are disciplined at the first sign of dissent. This is not a coincidence, this is a structure. Labour under Starmer is aligned with Israel and with the arms industry. Its leadership is bound up with lobbyists and donors, that we knew already. Its disciplinary machine is deployed to silence criticism of Israel, not to root out corruption. Therefore, the Ridley affair is not an accident, it's the logical outcome of a party that has made complicity its organising principle. Teddy Ryan's role as a lobbyist is not incidental in this story either. He's not an outsider with no ties to Labour. He is a former senior Labour official. He worked for the party for more than 14 years. He knows the people, the processes, the weak spots. When a lobbyist has that kind of insider knowledge and status, that knowledge, clients are not simply buying strategy, are they? They're buying access. They're buying credibility. They are buying the aura of someone who knows the party from the inside. When that lobbyist is married to the party's general secretary, and this is the government now, of course, the access is magnified beyond measure. This does not require explicit corruption. Influence is more subtle than that. It is about who gets a meeting, whose proposals get taken seriously, whose contracts sail through unchallenged. When Pearson pays an actor, it is buying Ryan's insider knowledge and Ridley's proximity to power. That is why the perception of conflict here is so corrosive. It creates the suspicion that policy positions, procurement decisions, and even the refusal to back an arms embargo may not be purely about principle or even the facts as they are known, but about access and lobbying. Ridley's appointment was a factional manoeuvre. She was the only candidate. The NEC rubber-stamped her selection. Her loyalty to Starmer and McSweeney was decisive in that. Starmer's leadership has been marked by authoritarian control. Candidate selections have been tightly stage managed. Local parties are stripped of autonomy. Dissent is punished. The Ridley affair shows that this authoritarianism is accompanied by arrogance. The leadership believes itself untouchable. It assumes that conflicts of interest do not matter when they involve insiders. It applies rules only to the powerless. This is factionalism masquerading as integrity. The party claims to uphold standards, but in practice uses discipline as a weapon against rivals. For those at the top, there is no accountability. For the grassroots, there is no mercy. Unless, of course, you choose to leave, like so many of us have. The scandal's not about abstract debate, but about process. Ultimately, it's about lives being destroyed in Gaza. Raphael's weapons are used to bombard Palestinians. Pearson is part of Raphael's network. An actor lobbies for Pearson. Ryan profits from an actor. Ridley runs Labour's machine. Labour refuses to back an arms embargo. These are the optics. The bombs falling on Gaza have now been financially linked to Labour HQ. That is the moral consequence of this. For a party that claims to stand for human rights and justice, this is a collapse of principle so profound it borders on complicity. Labour is not merely silent on Israel's war crimes, its leadership is financially entangled with them. The monstrous contradiction here is unavoidable, though. Members are punished for saying Gaza is a genocide. Meanwhile, the General Secretary's household profits from the very arms industry making that genocide possible. This is not simply hypocrisy, it is moral bankruptcy on steroids. Keir Starmer built his leadership on the promise of integrity. That promise, what was already left of it, now lies in absolute ruins. The Ridley-Ryan scandal exposes Labour's leadership as hypocritical, arrogant, and very factional. The money trail from Israel's bombs to Labour HQ shatters Starmer's credibility. The scandal leaves an unresolved question hanging in the air, though. Will Starmer dare to discipline his own inner circle? Will he take his General Secretary to account now that this has come out, at least in one outlet? Or will this hypocrisy implode his leadership as Mandelson's scandal is already doing? Will he have to focus group it first, you think? Rules are ruthlessly applied to the powerless, but never to his clique at the top. If Labour cannot police its own conflicts of interest, it cannot credibly govern Britain. And Lord knows, even without the scandal, Starmer's innate political ineptitude has proven that time after time already. The money trail does not lie. From bombs falling on Gaza to bank transfers in Westminster is clear as day. Starmer's integrity is not just cracked, it's collapsed. And the only question left is how long the public will tolerate a party whose claim to honesty and genuinely how much longer they'll put up with Starmer's self-serving and authoritarian failure. Not only is this failure making itself apparent with regards to Ridley and to Mandelson, but also on our streets. How long did it take Starmer to condemn Tommy Robinson's obscene Unite the Kingdom march, after all? 900 pensioners and disabled people arrested for peacefully protesting by holding placards one week. The next, only 25 violent thugs get the same treatment despite direct attacks on police officers. Authoritarian begetting violence and fascism basically is not a good look for Starmer either. This is rapidly shaping up to be the worst week of his career to date, isn't it? So get all the details of that story, along with how Robinson's rancidness is straight out of the very same playbook that brought us Charlie Kirk, in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, as well as spreading the word and helping to support the channel at the same time, which is very much appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people, and I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.